Listening to stories in English is one of the best ways to improve your language skills. Why? Because stories help you understand context, learn new words, and hear the natural rhythm of English. And most importantly, they keep you engaged. That's why I'm sharing this story with you. It's about a boy named Kevin, a secret he tried to hide, and a Sunday morning that changed everything. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. It was early Sunday morning. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, and the streets were wet from the night's rain. Inside the house, the air smelled of fresh toast and coffee. Maria, a 17-year-old girl with dark hair and kind eyes, stood in the kitchen making breakfast. Her younger brother, Kevin, was usually slow to wake up on Sundays. He loved sleeping in, but today was different. At exactly 6 a.m., Maria heard his bedroom door creak open. She turned around and saw him already dressed, pulling on his jacket. His dark brown eyes darted around nervously. "Kevin," she said, surprised, "where are you going so early?" Kevin avoided her eyes. "I need to buy something for my bicycle," he mumbled. Maria frowned. "In this weather? On a Sunday morning?" Kevin nodded quickly, grabbed his backpack, and walked to the door. Something wasn't right. A strange feeling settled in Maria's stomach. Kevin was lying. She was sure of it. He had been acting strangely all week, avoiding her questions, looking nervous whenever his phone buzzed. Maria couldn't ignore it anymore. She grabbed her coat and quietly followed him into the rain. The rain made everything look grey and lonely. Maria kept her distance, watching as Kevin hurried through the streets. He looked over his shoulder more than once, as if afraid of something. After a few minutes, Maria realized where he was going. The school. Her heart started to pound. Why would Kevin go to school on a Sunday? She hid behind a tree and watched as Kevin met a group of boys standing under the large oak tree near the entrance. Their clothes were damp from the rain, their faces shadowed. Maria recognized some of them. They were older boys from the neighborhood, the kind that people whispered about, the kind that caused trouble. Kevin spoke to one of them, a tall teenager with a scar on his cheek. The boy stepped closer to Kevin and said something Maria couldn't hear. Then he shoved Kevin's shoulder. Maria's stomach twisted. She moved closer, hiding behind the fence, and listened. "You owe us money," the tall boy said coldly. Kevin's hands trembled. "I just need more time," he whispered. The boy smirked. "Next Sunday. If you don't have it, you'll regret it." Maria clenched her fists. She had heard enough. She couldn't let this continue, but she had to be smart. She turned around and walked away quickly, her mind racing. There was one person she knew who could help: James. James was an old friend of Maria's father. He had been a police officer for years, and he was wise and experienced. Maria knew she could trust him. When she arrived at his house later that day, James listened carefully to her story, nodding. "This is serious," James said, "but we have to handle it the right way." Maria swallowed hard. What do we do? James leaned forward. Next Sunday, we'll be ready. You'll follow Kevin again, just like today. My team and I will be nearby, watching. When those boys try to threaten him, we'll step in. Maria nodded, feeling both nervous and relieved. Thank you, James. James smiled. We'll keep Kevin safe. Trust me. Maria wanted to talk to Kevin. She wanted to tell him she knew everything. But James had told her to wait. If Kevin knew, he might panic. He might try to fix things himself. And that could be dangerous. So Maria waited and watched. Kevin was quieter than usual that week. He barely spoke at dinner. He spent hours alone in his room. At night, Maria could hear him tossing and turning in his bed. The days felt long, but finally, Sunday arrived. The sky was grey again, and the streets were wet. At 6 a.m., Kevin left the house just like before. And just like before, Maria followed. But this time, she wasn't alone. James and his team were hidden nearby, watching, waiting. Maria held her breath as Kevin approached the school. The same group of boys was waiting. The tall boy stepped forward. Do you have the money? Kevin's hands shook as he reached into his pocket. Stop right there. A loud voice cut through the rain. The boys turned in shock. James and his team appeared from behind the school gate. The tall boy's face went pale. Who? Police, James said, flashing his badge. We know everything. The boys tried to run, but the officers were faster. In seconds, they were surrounded. Kevin stood frozen. His breath came out in short gasps. Maria ran to him and wrapped him in a tight hug. It's over, she whispered. Kevin's shoulders shook. I didn't know what to do. Maria pulled back and looked into his eyes. You should have told me. You're not alone, Kevin. James walked up to them. We'll take care of those boys, he said. And Kevin, if you ever need help, ask. You don't have to handle things alone. Kevin nodded, tears in his eyes. Thank you. Maria took his hand. Let's go home. As they walked back, the rain started to fall again. But this time, it felt different. Lighter, softer, because for the first time in weeks, Kevin wasn't afraid anymore. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you want to hear more exciting stories like this, don't miss my adventure in London. Click the link to watch now and improve your English even more. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more great stories.